Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you a little bit before we get started is the layout of the software. A lot of video editing software is laid out the same way. Some tabs are in different places, but they basically all have the same type of layout. On the left-hand side here, if you can see my mouse, this is where you would put all your assets. And assets include video, audio, and imagery. On the right-hand side here is your preview window. So when you start building within the timeline, which is down here, you will see your build in that preview window in the top right. There are some tricks and tips that we'll go through during the process, but it'll all come to you when we go through it. Along here, we have tabs for our project files. We have transitions. So project files is basically all the files you're going to be using to build. Transitions are basically what they say. They are transitions between imagery. So like a fade in between things. We'll talk about that as well. Effects are different kinds of video effects you can apply to videos and photos. Emojis, which we're not going to get into today, are just icons and imagery that you can add to your videos as well. Along here, along just above the timeline, there are some icons. One is to add a track. One is the snap is enabled, and we'll talk about the snap while we're developing our video. There is a add marker, which we're not going to talk about. That's more advanced. And then there's things like previous key points, and we won't be doing key points, and those are for animation. That'd be a more advanced level, but we may just talk about them briefly. And so, but the most important thing we want to know from this lineup is the plus button, which is to add your track, and the snapping enabled. If your snapping is not enabled, I would recommend you clicking the magnet now and having snapping enabled, because this will help you in the process. So the first thing we do is we plan our video. If you're a professor and you're teaching a course, you start thinking about what do you want to teach the students? And you may collect photographs or videos together, and you may have them on a folder on your computer. That is where we will place everything into our project and start building it. So let's get started building. So in the project files, there's multiple ways you can import them. The easiest way is to click the plus button up top, and then it's going to ask you to browse for a folder on your computer. Most people, when they're planning their video, they'll compile a bunch of photos or videos in a folder somewhere on their computer. And in this case, I've provided you guys with assets for workshop. So I'm going to go into my assets for a workshop, and I'm going to select each of my objects. And there's multiple ways you can do that. You can click and drag around all of your objects, or you can click on the first one, hold in Shift, and move your arrow keys around them. Like I said, there's multiple ways to do it, but you pick the way that's more comfortable for you. Once you have them all selected, you're going to hit open. It's going to show that they all appear in your project files. Down below here in the tracks, it's a good rule of thumb to organize your tracks with names. So if you think about tracks are kind of like, I like to use the analogy, they're like a scrapbook. You can put multiple layers on top of a scrapbook, but whatever's on top is what you see first. So for instance, track 5 would be the first object you would see, track 4, track 3, and so on. But I like to label my tracks. So the way you do that is you can right-click on a track with your right mouse button and say rename track. So we're going to rename this track 5. We're going to call this title. Okay? And you'll understand why we're naming these later. Track 4, we're also going to right-click on track 4. We're going to rename this track. We're going to call this video. Track 3, I'm going to right-click on that and let's call this photo. Track 2, we're going to right-click on that. We're going to rename this track audio. Does all that make sense to everyone? Does anyone have any questions? Something else you can do within the interface, if you can't see something, for instance, if you have a laptop, sometimes you only see 2 tracks, you can grab these little dots here and you can pull up and down and you can see more of what's going on in your interface. Same with up top here. Pull this left and right, and you can see more of your preview window, less of your project files. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to start dragging files from our project files into our timeline. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab atrium entrance, which is a photo. I'm going to drag it down to the photo section and drop it there. If you notice, it appears in the preview window. The next one I'm going to grab is the next photo, which is called atrium inside. Drag this down, place it next to it. You can click on it and drag it. And if you notice, when it gets close, it snaps. That's when I spoke to earlier about the magnetic snapping enabled. If you have that turned on, it'll make these snap together and just make it a lot easier for you to put things side by side. Next thing, we'll take this Burke. Same thing, we'll do this process over and over again until we have all of our photos in the photo timeline. Observatory, science building, Sobe, stairs. So now that we all have them in our timeline, this is our, some people call it the scrubber, some people call it the playhead. You can grab it by the blue area and drag it right and left, and you can notice that once you pass over each of the different photos, it changes to them because that's the order they are in the timeline. Another cool feature about OpenShot is that if you want these photos to not just snap into the next photo and you want them to fade into each other, you can actually grab one of them. So I'll grab the second one and I'll pull it slowly into the first one and then leave it go. And you'll notice a blue shape has appeared. Now watch when I pull over when I slide it over, it slowly fades. So that is a basic transition that OpenShot adds just by overlapping your photos in the timeline. So we'll do that to each of our photos. We'll just overlap them a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have them all the same. It's all personal preference. I'm just going to try this like this. Do that to each of them. Now, if you notice when I pull the playhead across, one fades into the other. Another thing we can do if we want to actually play our video to kind of get a sense of what it's going to look like when it's finished, you can do it two ways. One, you can click the green play button up in the preview window, and then you can watch your playhead moving. And once it gets to the next photo, it'll automatically change. Another way you can do this is by hitting your space bar. That'll stop your playhead. And then click it again, and it'll play it again. One thing that I'm noticing about these photos is they seem fairly long. So we're going to go to a process where we're going to shorten the clips. So we're going to cut them. So in order to do that, something I did not show you, actually because the zoom window is kind of covering over some of this material here. Let me just move this. Up here above the timeline is the timeline zoom. So if I grab this blue section here and pull it to the left, you'll notice that everything gets bigger in the timeline. And the bigger it is, the more easy it is to do more precise edits. So that's just something to consider when you're creating slideshows or you want to trim a video. If you want to trim a specific spot, it's easier to do it when your timeline is zoomed in like this. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut each of these photos down. So right now, the photos last about, if I pull this across and look at this time here, the photos last about a little more than 8 seconds, almost 9 seconds. And I think it'd be better if we kept them around 5 seconds. So one way we could trim those is I can pull my playhead to the 5-second mark. So right about there. And then if I right click on my clip, I get another set of menus, and one of them is called Slice. If I choose slice, but then the second set of menus that up here is keep both sides, keep left side, or keep right side. In our case, we only want to keep the left side. So I'm going to say keep left side, and it cuts the right side off and it makes the whole clip shorter. So I'm going to do this with each of our photos. So since that one was 5 seconds, the next one should be around 10 seconds. If you think about the way math works, if we want each of our photos to be 5 seconds long, if you start counting, you can basically say 5, 10, 15, 20, and that would give you the proper time. And I'm also going to delete each of these transitions just so that we can trim them properly. And to delete a transition, you would click on it, then hit your delete on your keyboard. So I'm going to do it. The next is going to be for Burke. This should go around 15. Right click, slice, keep left side. The next one should be 20.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What's the equivalent of a right click on a Mac?
I believe it may be command click or control. It will depend if they have a touchpad or not. You're talking about a one button mouse?
Yeah, like a touchpad.
Oh, touchpad. Oh, control click? Try control click. If that doesn't work, what did you say, Glenn? You have a Mac.
Oh, I push 2 fingers down.
2 fingers at the same time? Yeah, I think it depends on the Mac that you're using. But Glenn says if he pushes 2 fingers at the same time, it'll act as a right click.
Okay, I'll try that too. Thanks.
No problem. I'm going to show you guys another quick way to cut a video or a photo is if you get to your point where you want to cut it, and instead of right clicking and saying slice, you can actually grab it. So if you move your mouse to the edge and it changes the icon to 2 arrows, you click and drag to that point, and it does the same exact thing. So I'm going to do it to this one as well. This one should go to 25. Observatory should go to 30. And that's all of our photos. So not only can you put photos in a slideshow like this, you can also put video. Actually, before we do the video, we're going to do what I showed you earlier about overlapping your photos to create that short fade transition. So since we cut them all, we're going to do the fade again. So I'm going to click on my first image, bring it over, overlap it. Once you see that blue shape, that means there's a transition there. Now, if I click the spacebar and play our video, you'll see each photo will play for 5 seconds, then it'll fade to the next.
So, excuse me.
Sure.
So, is this only for fading effect, or can we add another effect while doing this,
Yeah.
like
So
tucking them together?
yeah. So no, for the overlap is just a fade. But if you want to later on experiment with other effects, there is a tab called transitions. You can click on transitions and drag those between the clips. But we're not going to be teaching that in today's session. But on your own, you can experiment with those things as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So like I said, as you see, everything fades in to each other. Next, we're going to add a video clip to all of this. So if you notice also in your assets, there is a file called SMU clips, and it's an MP4 file. So I'm going to click and drag that down to the video section. Lay it right about there. And if you notice, it's above the photos. So once it hits it in the timeline, it'll automatically change to that instead, and you won't see the photos any longer. So let me just play with what that would look like. So something that I've noticed with this clip that I don't like personally is I don't like how this end clip ends where there are students walking and it's not very long. So we can apply the same thing that we did to the photos. If you want to cut off that end, find it on your playhead, right click, slice, keep left side, and it removes this whole section of the students walking. So you won't see it anymore. And the other way we could have done that is the same way we did with the photos. We could have just dragged the end of it to where we wanted it to start. So now that we have our photos and our video in, we can now add a title. So let me just pull this up so we can see where our title goes. So along the top menu, you'll see File, Edit, Title, View, and Help. We're going to choose the title option, then choose Title again. It's going to bring up another window that gives you an option of multiple titles that you can choose from. For today's tutorial, we're going to choose the camera border title. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to drag it to the timeline. Oh, sorry. I did that wrong. You have to click it, and then you have to give it a name. I'm going to call this title. And then I'm going to say save. Or you can change your font and your text color and your background color. You can change all the attributes of your title to be whatever you like. Then I'm going to hit save. And then when I click save, it appears in my project file. Then I can pull it down from the project file to my timeline. And if you notice, it only lasts around 9 seconds, that title. But we want it to extend to be the full length of the video. And if you notice here, our video ends at around 48, 50 seconds. In order to extend the title, you can basically do the same thing we did to shorten it before, but we can now extend it. So I'm going to go to the end of the title. When it turns into two arrows, click it and drag it across so that it gets to the end of all of our clips. So now we know this title will be the same length as our entire video. And if you also notice, it is positioned in the center. If you want it to be changed, if you want it to not be in the center, I would suggest clicking on it and pulling it down to where you would like it. Somewhere like there. Now, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, sorry, somehow I cannot find the original click, the place that you click on to actually bring up that list to start this process. Can you show me how to start that again, where the title is?
Sure. So up along the top, you'll see File, Edit, Title, View, and Help. Do you see those menu items?
No.
Can you see where my mouse is on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, so up here, there's a menu item called Title. If you click it once, you can then choose Title from within there. And then when you do that, it'll bring you up another dialog box. And then from in here, we are choosing the one called Camera Border.
It's so weird. I don't see it on mine. Weird. Yeah, no, I just don't.
Are you on a laptop?
Yep.
It could be the fact that your screen is a little shorter than most, and maybe you need to, I'm not sure if there's any way you can pan up to see if there's a menu item up above. That could be the reason why you don't see it. I do know that when you're using a laptop, it's hard to see all of the tracks down below as well, because you have a less tall screen. And it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I can scroll through the tracks, but
Okay.
I don't seem to have any, like I have those icons.
Yeah.
The ones, that list of icons, but I have nothing above that. That's kind of where my thing ends.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then there's just, I don't have anything else.
And this is the Mac version. This might be a Mac versus PC version, because I've not had a chance to try it on a Mac. Is there a way to maximize this window? Let's see what happens when you maximize the green dot. Hit the green dot and see. No, it doesn't bring. Does it?
No.
I don't know. That's something I'll have to look into.
Okay.
wasn't it weird?
What were you, it was file and then what?
So if you notice here up here,
Yeah.
it says file, edit, title.
File.
Edit.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so file, and then which one did you want?
I used title, then I chose title, then from.
Oh, way up here.
Oh, it's
Oh,
way.
weird. Hang on.
Wait, look, up, like right beside the white apple.
I see it now. No, I can see it now.
Okay,
It wasn't. in the same
Okay.
spot.
That was so weird.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I see it. Now it's
no
there.
problem. So I can go through that process again. Here, let me delete the title. And then we're gonna re-add it. So there's another little trick that I'm gonna explain, that when you start adding things to your timeline, if you don't want them to start moving on the screen, make sure that before you pull anything onto your timeline, you click this button in your preview window that says jump to start, so that you know you're putting it at the very start of all your video. So we're gonna go click jump to start, and then we're gonna go to title again, and then we're gonna choose camera border. And then I'm gonna get the name is title. You can change the font. Let's change the name, the font. What is St. Mary's font? They use Railway, I think. I don't know if it's on this computer. Maybe it's not. But you can pick any font you want. Give it under line 1. That's what the title will actually say. So then when you hit save, it'll show up in your projects, in your project files, and that's where you can drag it down into your timeline. So I'm going to drag it down to the timeline. I'm going to reposition it down below, something like this, by just clicking and dragging it. And then I'm going to grab the end of it in my timeline and pull it all the way across.
Can you remind us how to move the title down to the bottom?
Sure. So if you actually just select it on your timeline by clicking it, you'll notice it'll have all these like little squares around it. That's
Yep.
kind of like a transform option. You can basically just click it and drag it around the screen anywhere you want. But like I said,
Okay.
if you don't want to watch your title move across your screen, make sure before you do any of that, you click the button here in the preview window called Jump to Start. Because if you don't, I'll show you what actually happens. So you notice how when I'm moving it now, it's jumping back and forth. So it's better to jump to start, and then the title from there, drag it across, reposition. One thing that I didn't take into account was a logo. So we're going to add a logo to this as well. If you want to add another timeline, we can right click.
Sorry to interrupt, Jay. I can barely hear you. And one person just put in the chat that they can no longer hear you.
You want to test again? You want to just test?
Yeah.
Maybe you speak closer to that.
No, I think what's going on is this camera is not being detected anymore.
I think it's, yeah. I think people.
It says echo canceling speakerphone. It's the microphone.
Maybe it's anyone else. You want to ask in the chat?
Can you guys, can anyone hear me?
I can
can
hear
hear
you, but
you,
you
but it's
sound
very
far
low.
away.
Yeah, it's very low.
Unfortunately, when the computer crashed, the microphone that was attached to the computer stopped working. I apologize for that. So I'll try to speak louder so everyone can hear, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a logo to our composition. So to do that, we're going to add another track to our timeline. To do that, we can right click anywhere in the timeline, say add a track above or below. And in this case, we want to add it above the title. So I'm going to choose add a track above. I'm going to rename this track to logo. Okay. And on this track, we're going to grab our St. Mary's logo from our project files. Down. And if you notice, it's going to take up the full screen. We're going to want to resize this. And a way to resize this proportionately is that on a PC, you would hold in Control on your keyboard, grab a corner, and drag. If you notice, it's scaling proportionally. I believe it's Command on a Mac and Control on a PC. So once you get it to the size you want it, I'm going to drag it up, place it somewhere in the top left. Make it the full length of your composition. And now if I do a preview again, see what this looks like.
It's 3 keys to do a proportional size change.
Is that a question? So,
Oh, no, no, to change the size in proportion, you need to do Command, Option, Shift, and then drag.
Command Option Shift on a Mac. Okay. I wasn't aware of that. I always thought Command and Control were exactly the same, but different, like, depending on the computer. Okay. Thank you for that. There we go. You guys should be able to hear me better now. Is that right? Did someone acknowledge if you can hear me
Yep.
better?
Yes,
Yep.
much better.
Perfect. Thank you. No, we were having some technical issues with the camera here. Sorry about that. So we're almost near the end of our project where the last thing we need to add is our musical file. So we have a file in our projects called Searching for You. It's an MP3 file. I'm going to take this file and drag it down to the audio layer. And like the other ones, I'm going to make sure it's the exact same length as our video. So I'm going to click and drag it, make sure it ends where the rest of the videos end. And then we're going to do a preview of this and see how this sounds. I'm assuming you guys can hear that. We can now do our finishing touches on our video where if we want to make this a little more professional, we can have the video fade in and the audio fade in. And at the end, it would all fade out to black. So in order to do that, we're going to go to each of our tracks. So let's start at the logo track because it's at the top. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to choose fade, start of clip, and fade in slow. Just to show you what that would look like. If you look at the logo when I play, fades in slow. But we want everything to do the same thing. So we're going to do it to the title as well. Right click on our title, choose fade, start of clip, fade in slow. We're going to also do this to the atrium under our photos. Right click, choose fade, start of clip, fade in slow. And with our audio is a little different. We're going to right click, we're going to say audio, or sorry, we're going to say volume, and then we're going to go to start of clip, and we're going to say fade in slow. So the only difference is with audio, you choose volume. With photos and video, you go directly to fade. So fade in slow. At the end of our clip, we also want this to fade out. So we're going to right click on our audio. We're going to say volume, end of clip, fade out slow. Same with our video. Since our video is near the end, we're going to right click. Let's choose fade, end of clip, fade out slow. Now, let's play our entire video from the beginning. Oh, and one thing that we missed was we did not fade out our logo. So how do we do that? We right click on our logo, we go to fade, end of clip, fade out slow. We haven't done it to our title either, so we'll right click on our title, choose fade, end of clip, fade out slow. Oh, sorry, end of clip, fade out slow. Now, if we just jump back a little bit and play the ending again. That's our video. So now the last part of doing any video is exporting it. So this is how you would compile a video file to either put on social media or on YouTube or wherever, send it to by email to a friend. The icon up here, the big red circle, you export video. If you choose that, it'll give you multiple options on how you want to export your video. We want to give it a name. So I've already named mine tutorial, and the folder path is where it'll export it to. So you guys can give it whatever name you want and put it in whatever path you want. The target is an MP4 file. MP4 is a very popular file format, especially on, like an MP4 file is very universal. It'll open on any application. If you're on a Mac, you may choose to want to use QuickTime, but for our purposes, we're just going to use MP4 because it's more universal. The profile is the resolution it's going to create it at. Right now it's set to 720p, which is high definition, but it's not really big, not really high definition, but it's high enough for what we need. Quality is high. You can go through these different options and choose whatever you like. It can be daunting because there's a lot of options, but like I said, for our case, we're just going to pick the defaults. And then once you have your path and your title down, you choose export video. And depending on the quality you've chosen and the length of your video, the render time will take longer. If it's a shorter video, it may be faster, but just take that into consideration that the higher the quality and the longer the video, the longer it'll take to render. So there, that's done. If I go and search for that file, which I actually created one earlier today, if I double click on it, and this is how your end result will look. And that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed their time and learned something, even without the hiccups that we had. Appreciate everyone stopping by and the ones that
Thank
came.
you. I did have one question.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, but I think you didn't see it. I said the audio used, does the app, okay, so the audio used for the video,
Yes.
did you get it? Does the app have like a library of different audio, or is like preferred to download audio from another platform?
No, the app does not have a library, but the way that I normally get royalty-free music is YouTube. So if you have a YouTube account and you go into the Creator Studio, they have an audio library there, and you can download free MP3s from there, and that's normally where I get them from.
Okay, thank you. And because you edit generally videos for me, I wanted to also have your opinion on other apps. So this is really good. Thank you for this app because I'm learning a lot through this one. I also wanted to just ask maybe about, I think, CapCut and like those types of apps, using them too.
Yeah, so I've used CapCut in the past, and I primarily used it on my phone, and it's really great for creating shorts. If you want to do shorts for Instagram or TikTok, you can shoot videos from within that, add transitions, add effects, You can even close caption your video from within there. It's a really powerful program. Unfortunately, it's not free because I do believe there is a subscription to it. But yeah, I've used it, but I'm not an expert in it. So if you have questions and you want me to investigate them, you could always email me at jay.williams@smu.ca. I can actually put it in the chat so you guys can see it. And if you have any questions about different types of software, let me know.
Thank you. It was, yeah, that one. And I think the second one I wanted to know was Clipchamp, just because Clipchamp came for free on my laptop.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know also that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience in that, but I think a lot of those programs will allow you to shoot quick videos on your phone, and then you can transfer them to your computer and do some edits. The reason why we chose OpenShot today was because it's open source and it's available on all platforms. And if you get used to editing on one piece of software, you can kind of take what you've learned from those, and then they translate very well to other programs as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions?
Thank you, Jay. Are you, if we want to, I'm like working on a WW course right now.
Right.
And so this like came in the most timely way because I was just complaining to Alicia about, I was like, even in the videos that you have in the demo, there's fades and titles and all these things. So like literally the next day, your email about this tutorial came up, but I'm wondering if we're like playing around with stuff, and are you like, or is someone in your team like available if we want to come in and talk a little bit more, bring our laptops and have you like look at some stuff and give us some pointers? Are you
Oh,
available to be
definitely,
booked for that?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
I'm also available. I'm not sure how much is known about what I do here on campus, but if you need someone to shoot video,
Okay.
I have
cool.
in the media suite here in Burke, we will shoot video. We use professional cameras and microphones. We have green screens and lights and things like that. And you can come in and we can shoot for your course in here as well. But like, we're not talking about shooting lectures. It's more about introductory videos for your courses.
Okay.
We do a lot of that as well.
Okay, so I might have some questions to ask you, but I'm gonna try and put them together in a email, and then I will shoot them to you and ask you the best way to proceed, and maybe loop Alicia in there too. But thank you. This is
Definitely, no, not a problem.
all right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye now. If there's no other questions, I guess we can end this for the day. Thank you very much. And we'll let you guys know if there'll be another one. We've been in talks about maybe doing a more advanced class, or maybe we'll do another introductory class at some point. But like I said, if there are any questions about things that you've already created, and if you want advice, please don't hesitate to contact me by email. I'm on campus a couple days a week. I'm primarily here to shoot video and to edit things, but I always have time to talk to people. Again, thank you very much. Bye, everybody.